For me, kayak fishing is simple. A boat, a paddle, a fishing rod, and unspoiled water. The fish are big. The chaos is beautiful. It's angling's addictive final frontier, and I'm hooked. I'm Drew Gregory, and this is Hooked on Wild Waters.
Drew Gregory's Hooked on Wild Waters has been brought to you by Jackson Kayak. We make fun. Z-Man Lures, the science and art of fishing. Smith Optics. Smith is fishing.
Well, as many of you know, I'm actually from Georgia originally, and believe it or not, there's still some rivers I've never fished in the state. So I'm excited on this episode to be headed to Milledgeville, Georgia, where I've never fished the Oconee River. It's actually a really cool little town. You got Lake Sinclair there, you got the Oconee River coming out of Lake Sinclair. I've never fished this section, so I'm excited to get to the river so you can meet my guest and we can head downstream and see what we can find. Today I'm here with a special guest, Mr. Kayak Bass Fishing, Chad Hoover. Apparently there's a rumor going around that you actually love river fishing, probably more than even any other kind of kayak fishing. Is this true?
Bit. Yeah, actually, and for fun fishing, when I'm gonna leave the cameras at home and get out there and take, Christy on the water, take the kids, like the river's the place to go. You get away from boats. I've never run into a jet ski on a river, you know what I'm saying? But right. I have run into a lot of bass, especially a lot of smallmouth where I live, striper, muskie. Dude, it's the ultimate unplug getaway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get away today on the beautiful Oconee River, so let's get to it, and hopefully we're gonna catch some nice bass.
Yeah, man, some dam bass, because the dam's like right there.
That's true. Well, on today's float, we don't have quite as far to go as I normally would. So when you have a shorter float on a river, you actually can go upstream a little bit first and then work your way back down. So to make sure you plan your timing. And that's what we did. There's a few cuts and islands that go back upstream and around. So we're gonna explore those areas and see if we can find some fish. So I make my way around the corner and I head back up this cut. I see trees laying down. I see a lot of shallow water. I may have to actually get out or just scooch my way through, but I see deep water beyond that and logs and a lot of rocks. So hey, this could be a potential spot for a big fish to live. But the water does look a little bit stagnant, and I've seen very little evidence of bait fish as well. But I have seen some gar, some bowfin, species that like to live in a little bit lower oxygen. And hey, if you see a couple bowfins sitting there, they may not be the most sought after species, but they can definitely knock the skunk off. These guys can survive in lower oxygen environments, and they actually can breathe air right out of the water, or the top of the water. You'll see them come up and gulp air. So they can use their gills, or they can breathe actual air, and they can even survive out of the water for a long time on land. They just gotta stay wet. It's always nice to get a fish in the boat, get the fish skunk off of your back, but hey, we're looking for bass, so I gotta keep going, keep grinding. It's just a bluebird sky day. I know it's gonna be tough, but you gotta hang in there, keep making lots of casts, and eventually you will come across some fish. Well, I'm excited to finally be working my way downstream, getting to some new water. As I'm paddling down there, I really just get to see the beauty of this river. The water is crystal clear. I get to see so much life, so many animals in the area, and this Oconee River here is so much more beautiful than I ever realized it was. It's a shame it's taken me this long to get over there. And I head downstream, I choose one bank, Chad chooses the other, and I actually, in this clear water, I see a fish on bed. And this is late May. Most of the fish in Lake Sinclair upstream have spawned in early April, maybe mid-April at the latest, but this fish is still on bed here in the river, and I figured I've got to try to get this thing to bite, and I got some baits that I think will make it bite. There's another one up on the shore. Could still be on a bed or guarding something. Because they don't want to move. There she is, she's looking at it. It's not a big fish, she's looking at it. She's coming right at it. Just pissed about this. Pissed about this jig. Oh, she hit it again. I just need something white. That would really help me right now. Oh, there she is. That is a good hook set. She's not going nowhere. There she is. It's not a bad fish either. I mean, it's not like a giant, but not a giant, but all right, there we go. That was worth it right there. So far, it's been kind of tough. So I saw this little small 14-incher on bed, still guarding a bed, and we're in late May, but she would not leave this spot. So I'm pretty sure that's what she was doing. And hey, it paid off. I caught the fish. Hopefully we can get some bigger ones downstream, but it has been tough. We got to figure them out somehow. I got this one figured out. See you, buddy. See ya. Well, obviously a good bait of choice whenever you're fishing for bedding fish is gonna be something that's a predator, something that might eat their fry or their eggs. That's why I had the TRD crawls on here with this cross-eyed jig. And you can see I worked this fish for a while, and at one point it was so aggressive and mad it actually bit that pincher off, which is hard to do with Elastic plastic, by the way. But it did the job for me today, and hey, I'm gonna keep throwing it. Just gotta replace my crawfish.
Fishing rivers and fishing wild waters is one of my favorite ways to fish. It can be exciting, but it can also be dangerous, so you really need to know what you're doing. So I advise fish with experienced anglers until you're comfortable going by yourself. So I'm gonna turn it over to Mark Gordy from Georgia Power to talk more about river safety.
At Georgia Power, we're very big into the SPLASH program. That's a DNR program on water safety. We like to emphasize that when you go into water, around the water, near the water, that you're always thinking safety. So SPLASH. S is for supervision. Kids, when you go around the water, make sure the adult knows where you are. Adults, keep your eye on the kids at all times when they're in, around, or on the water. Prevention, wear a life jacket. Life jackets come in all sizes, styles, and models. Make sure they're Coast Guard approved, and if it has buckles, buckle to buckles, has snaps, wear the snaps. Even in a kayak or canoe, you must wear that life jacket at all times. Look before you leap. When you go into the water, make sure you know what's there. If you cannot get in there, you ease in, feet first. Never dive into water that you don't know what's there. When you're in the water with your kids, keep them at arm's length. Make sure you can put your hands on them if they go down. If they're not wearing a life jacket and they go under, you want to pull them up right as soon as you can. S, swimming lessons. Learn how to swim. Being safe on the water involves knowing how to swim. Even good swimmers drown, so wear that life jacket. Have a water safety plan. Kayakers, canoers, swimmers, have your buddy with you. Have a buddy system. Have a float plan. Let somebody know where you're going to be on the water, what time you're going to get out. In the event of an emergency, they know where to contact you. They know how to find you. At Georgia Power Company, we provide 32 lake access areas at our 14 reservoirs in the rivers of Georgia. We're the largest provider of recreation lands in Georgia that's not a governmental agency. At these areas, we provide life jacket loaner boards. In the event you get to the lake and you don't have a life jacket, we have one that you can borrow.
We get to this really scenic railroad bridge, and of course fish are always hanging around bridge pilings. There's usually riprap there, big chunk rock, and of course a current break on the backside. Chad Hoover knows this all too well. He throws in there and catches a cool little fish that we have not seen yet on this trip, but I knew they lived there. Well, Chad's gone the finesse route. I've gone the power fishing route. I feel like there's two ways to catch fish when you got conditions like this, tough bluebird skies. You got to force them to react like I am, or you just get there light line, and you caught this TRD crawls, I believe. Yeah. And it's a cool little red-eye bass that's unique to this river. And it's actually a fish that's threatened a little bit by the spotted bass being introduced, and even the shoal bass that live in the Ocmulgee River, which does meet this river way downstream in more South Georgia, because eventually the shoal bass will move up. And of course, once they start to hybridize with these sort of red-eye bass, there is no more true genetics of this exact species. All right. They're fun though, I'll tell you what, these guys are fun. You guys have seen the show. I'm always seeking out big fish, but more than anything, I'm seeking out fun. Chad and I are having fun today because we're sight fishing, the water's so clear, and these awesome little red-eye bass are here. they're so receptive to our baits, especially when you see them, you pitch it in there. That's a really fun way to catch fish, and it helps you practice and learn to catch those big ones sight fishing. So we're doing that, having a good time. What a cool fish. Look at the bars on this thing, just the stripes and the bars. It's so unique. We've definitely found ourselves on a tough day, but the good news is there's very clear water and we get to sight fish. At one point I see this giant bowfin and I've just got to try to catch this thing. There's a big bowfin, watch this. Watch this, big bowfin. It's huge. Giant. Oh, he tried to eat it. I missed it again. You moron, he keeps swiping at it. He can't even see, this thing's so prehistoric. Here he comes, got it. Oh, it's a freaking big one. Look at this thing. Whoa. In the meantime, I'll just catch these. Come on. There we go. Got her. There we go. That is a nice bowfin there. You can tell they're fun to catch. Again, these teeth right here, you've got to be careful. Got to have a fish grip. But they are a predator species, no doubt about it.
Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover, the founder and president of Kayak Bass Fishing. Kayak Bass Fishing is the world's leading kayak fishing tournament organization, but we're a lot more than that. We're also a community that promotes kayak fishing safety, awareness, and basically a sense of camaraderie and getting out there and sharing the water, but being responsible stewards of the water as well. So, you know, a lot of people think of Kayak Bass Fishing as just a tournament organization. We're a lot more than that. Primarily a conservation organization utilizing catch, photo, release to preserve our fisheries. We have a solid foundation in education, but mostly we just want people to get out there and experience kayak fishing, whether it's river fishing, lake fishing, backwater fishing, private water, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it from a kayak. So if you want to learn more about the exciting sport of kayak fishing, particularly kayak bass fishing, head over to kayakbassfishing.com or look us up on any of the socials at Kayak Bass Fishing.
As we're nearing the end of the day, I am actually looking back and thinking about the trip. We've caught a lot of fish. We've caught a lot of cool fish and had a lot of cool bites and fights. But I still really want, a nice fish while I'm here. It's about time to catch a big one so we can close out this show. Oh, there we go. Better fish. There's one with it too.
Like a better fish?
Yeah, it is, and there's one following it. She's got a partner. I said I was gonna throw this jig until I got a 5-pounder. This one may not be 5, but you got one too? Doubled up, Chad's got one. Maybe this afternoon bite is the afternoon bite delight. Here. There we go. Not a bad fish, probably about 17 inches. She crushed that jig right on the bank. Cross-eyed jig, right across her eyes too. These bass never make it easy. I've been grinding all day long and I'm thrilled with the 17-inch fish here. But maybe it's a sign, it's later in the day, maybe it's a sign with how aggressive that fish hit this jig right on the bank and had a friend following it, that maybe it's gonna turn on. Chad just got one at the same time, so my hopes are a little bit high after being down for most of the day. We're getting to a little bit deeper water, and I see some wood coming in off the bank, and it's coming down at like a 45-degree angle, which actually really can tell you it's deeper water. If it's coming in at a very shallow angle, you know it's shallow water there. So my hopes are getting high. I flip a cross-eyed jig in there with a TRD crawls. I'm just kind of bouncing it, not paying attention. I feel a hard thump. I lean back on my Fate Black, and I felt some weight. There we go. Now we're getting into some fish. We gotta just slow down. That's not a bad fish. Finally figured something out around here. Woo, all right. Probably another 17.5, 18-inch fish there. Finally, another decent fish. We figured out some sort of a pattern. By no means are these giants, but Chad and I have found a way today to have a good time. That's what kayak bass fishing is all about. That's what river bass is all about. I mean, sight fishing the fish today, catching the red-eye bass, and the bowfin. Just finding a way to have a good time on every float you go down. Those are all reasons I'm definitely hooked on wild waters.
Drew Gregory's Hooked on Wild Waters has been brought to you by Our Pole Shallow Water Anchors, Swift, Silent, Secure, Tennessee Trailers, the only name to have behind you, Yak Attack, Rigging the Dream, Bending Branches, Pretty Smart Paddles, Orion Coolers, Never Lose Your Cool, 13 Fishing, Make Your Own Luck, Ray Marine, specialists in marine electronics,